Hello and welcome to the awakening of I Am Magi-Nation. My name is Sherman. First, I want to say, um, first I want to apologize. I have made a commitment to post every day, Monday through Thursday, and this week I kind of fell behind with them both with the posts. So I do want to apologize for that. Um, I haven't been living up to my own expectation of what I should be doing with the channel. So I do want to apologize. I am working a third shift job, so it kind of I ain't gonna say it's difficult, but I don't want to seem tired and exhausted when I give y'all this information because I know the energy is very important when giving it. So I want to always give my energy in at its best, if not the best, near the best. But today I wanted to talk about the law of assumption. And the law of assumption said that you could assume a thing and it will come true. Now I'm gonna show you that every day we use the law. Cause how many times have you planned things like a birthday or just the next day of work or any event that you may have planned in the past? So you assume that you was either gonna carry out those plans and that was it. You didn't think that the possibility of not assuming you assumed that you could and you would. And by you assuming these things, you did. So there's two verses in the Bible that I would like to refer to. And it's Matthew 22. No, it's Matthew 21 and 22 is the first verse. And I got a second verse, and it's from Mark 9 and 23. And Matthew 21 and 22, all things whatsoever ye shall all things whatsoever you shall ask in prayer, believing you shall receive. Mark 9 and 23. If thou can believe, all things are possible to him that believe. So right there it shows you that he give us this law to assume things that we would like in our own life. So other words, we can imitate God by assuming by assumption. We can imitate God by assumption. And what I mean, we can create an end. We can assume this end gonna come. And to become a God or to imitate God is to not create but to create an end. So we always creating, but to create an end is to imitate God. So we know that there are laws that govern our entire universe. And under the universal law, we got man-made law. So you got universal laws that man-made fall up under the laws, and the law of assumption is a universal law. It fall up under the law of attraction. We assume that we're gonna live tomorrow, so we start planning. Um, so regardless of what we do, think, see, it all come through from assumption, assuming that it is. Who to say that it ain't? But by us believing, it brings itself, it manifests itself to us. And we have the power and the authority to do so. By assuming we also are imitating God. And he tells us to imitate him, to be like children and imitate him. And I have thought about this. How could we imitate God? And the only way we can imitate God, I thought it was creating, but it's not creating, because we always create. When we don't even put no effort in creation, we are creating. So I said, how could we? I thought about it. I was like, how could we imitate God? And the only way I can see that we can imitate God is to form an end or see an end. Because only God knows the beginning and the end. We only know bits and pieces. So to know an end is to be an imitator of God. And the law of assumption say we can do so. So assume now that you are. Don't assume when you become. Assume now that you are, and the law of assumption say it will come. Like tomorrow. We must assume that tomorrow will come about for us. To doubt it is to say that we won't be here. So to assume that tomorrow coming is to imitate an end. It's not to imitate an end, but to imitate God and create an end or see an end. And tomorrow is the end. So we don't know. We only assume that we'll be here, and by the law of assumption, we do. So it's nothing wrong with assuming a thing. Even if a person lying to you, if you assume that that person telling you the truth, don't you know that whatever they tell you, it'll come true? Now, it won't work for them, but it'll work for you because you believe whatever they told you. And I could and we could see in our books, we don't know. We wasn't there at them time. Our history book, whatever kind of education we getting right now, is all a assumption. And what I mean is, we assume whoever wrote this knew what they were talking about, and we did not question it. We did not question it. We went with it. So by us going with it and believing it, it manifests itself amongst us. So regardless, we have believed something that may have not even exist. Now, the devil. How do we know the devil exists? We heard, but I had never seen him. And I don't think I would want to see him, but I'm just saying, if it won, by now I think I would have been on scene by now. But I haven't saw him, so I know that if I did saw him, it was because of this law of assumption, assuming that something can be. And when you assume something can be, it will be. Now, for me, there is no devil. I had never experienced. I don't know what it is. I really don't. I know the devil to be yourself and be your thoughts. So it's that thought that you it's that thought that was lower. Not that above thought, not that heavenly thought. It was the lower thought, more earthly thought. But for me to assume that for me to assume that it is a one, is for one to appear in my life, and I haven't I had never seen him. I heard about him, but I have never seen him. And that's the same way with God. Who's seen God? Have you seen God? So you only assuming that it is a higher power. You don't really know. You it's an assumption, and by you assuming, it becomes real. But for those that don't believe, then there isn't to them. But the law of assumption said we can assume and it will come about. So let's assume that we're in a greater state today. Never says imagine better than the best you ever have. So let's assume ourselves in the most impossible situation, because whatever impossible is possible to those who believe. So through the law of assumption, we can assume a thing and it will come true. And just like with this law, it's nothing good, nothing bad with this law. But we can misuse this law and it would seem to be. My job is here today is to show you that we always assuming, and that the whole entire world is an assumption. You're assuming that whatever somebody told you or whatever somebody designed or whatever, you assume that it's gonna work to its best, it's gonna perform to its best. Your car, you assume that you can get in the car every day and take off on this car. But regardless of what we doing in life or what we ate in life, it all came through assumption. Somebody assumed it to be. Assume an end and have faith that that end would come about. And by you having faith, it will. And until next time, let's have a moment of silence. But first, let me give you this. Let's imagine, or let's be careful what we imagine, because whatever we think about will come about. So let's be careful what we imagine and what image we are giving God. And until next time, let's have a moment of silence.